What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my builds guide and unit review for Tea Time banner featuring Tea Time Ayra, Lysithea, Tailtiu, Ferdinand, and also Sigurd. So let us take a look at Tea Time Ayra and Mercedes, and they are definitely the star of this banner, even though I would say that Lysithea is also a really strong unit. So they've got Tea Time's Edge as their preferred weapon, and this does have Canto Distant Traveled +1, and this is pretty much opposite of Canto Remaining movement. So this incentivizes you to travel more spaces, and the max Canto that you can get out of this is 4, which is really good for retreating. Obviously stuff like Canto Control is going to be annoying, but this allows Ayra to have really good hit and run potential in something like Aether Raids offense or in Summoner Duels. And then they do get the standard -1 special cooldown from this weapon, and in start of combat, if unit's HP is at or above 25%, then they can get +X attack and speed in combat, and this depends on 25% foe's visible attack stat -2. So minimum this can be 6 and maximum it can be 16. So nowadays we have got units with crazy high attack stats, so it actually works really well with that because you're going to be getting max 16 many times against many of the meta threats and their high attacks. So having those kinds of offenses is really good as an offensive sword cavalier, and they can also deal true damage based on 20% of unit speed, which is again good for functioning as a nuke. And this doesn't really apply to the AoE specials, which doesn't really matter too much because you're hardly going to be changing Supreme Astra to another special. And then finally she has the Null Guard effect, or the half tempo effect, the offensive half, which allows her to basically trigger Supreme Astra twice in a single round of combat with Flow Desperation, which is extremely powerful. And speaking of Supreme Astra, that's a 2 cooldown special that is going to be becoming a 1 cooldown special with her weapon, and it also has Time +3 built in, so it pre-charges itself and it does damage based on 40% of unit speed. And after special triggers, it grants special cooldown -1 to unit, and this is actually mid-combat, but this is only once per turn. So it's not like you can dance up Ayra and then she can again do like 2 Supreme Astras to another opponent. So this is only going to be happening once per turn, and this is something that we have never seen before because this is giving special cooldown mid-combat. It's not even after the combat like Special Spiral 4 or Time Pulse 4. So this is going to be making her a very potent nuke and a delete button of a sort many times in something like Summoner Duels, in Aether Raids offense and Aether Raids defense, because Supreme Astra is going to be doing a lot of damage with the true damage that she gets from her weapon and the offenses that she gets, and triggering 2 of those Supreme Astras is going to be making it very hard for the opponents to survive unless they have a lot of damage reduction or they have some kind of scowl effect in their weapon. In that case, she's not going to be able to trigger the special twice, and it is going to be severely hampering her offensive power. And she also does not have any kind of way of piercing through damage reduction like Spring Carla can. So again, like I said, a lot of damage reduction can help you survive against this unit, and many of the frontliners, especially in Summoner Duels, do run God Bearing 4 quite a lot. So they're going to be able to try and survive Tea Time Ayra with her like 2 Supreme Astras. So you're going to be needing a lot of damage reduction to survive this kind of delete button, and she's definitely up there with the top tier nukes, but she does have the flaws like I said, which is not being able to pierce through damage reduction and being a bit weak to the scowl effects if you do get a lot of them. This is not to say that she is not a scary offensive unit with that 44 base attack with a super boon and 46 base speed. So she is completely going to be min-maxing on her offenses, and she doesn't really function defensively. It's just that she's going to go in, delete something and retreat with her Canto Distant Traveled +1. So that is going to be helping you pretty much in any kind of competitive game mode, and it is also helpful in resonant battles as she is a harmonic unit, so there the movement and the deletion that she can do is going to be really good. For her base kit, she does have attack speed clash 4, which is really synergetic with a weapon that does encourage having more movement. So this can allow you to get attack and speed debuff neutralization. And then she comes with a new skill in Flow Desperation, which is easily one of the best flow skills in the game because of the things that it can provide. So it inflicts -4 speed and defense debuff on the enemy in the combat, and if the unit initiates combat, then it does give you half null follow-up, the offensive half, which allows you to bypass any kind of follow-up negation effects. And if the number of spaces moved by the unit is 2 or more, or if unit's HP is at or below 75%, then you get the Desperation effect in the combat. So this is really easy for Ayra to get because Ayra can easily move like 2 spaces and get the Desperation and then canto away. And Flow Desperation is really good because Supreme Astra can be triggered twice in a single round of combat, which is going to be making her a very strong nuke. So Flow Desperation works really well for her, and there are definitely going to be other units that this skill is going to be working really good on. You can actually get Flow Desperation and Attack Speed Clash for at the same time because the prerequisite of Flow Desperation is just the regular Desperation, which makes it pretty easy to snag along with the Clash skill. Flow Desperation is going to be amazing skill on many of the melee flyers and cavaliers, and in my opinion, Summer female Shez is easily one of the best users of this skill, so it is going to be useful with these kinds of brave weapons. And Summer male Shez can also make use of this if he wants to run a more player face centric build, and Rain Snap is going to be a pretty good slotsy option when you want to move 2 or more spaces, so having the extra movement is going to be good. And then Spring Carla is also a top tier nuke that can also make use of Flow Desperation instead of having fluent trace that she comes with. Ayra and Mercedes also have a harmonic skill that is going to be affecting Genealogy of the Holy War units and 3 Houses units, and this can provide +6 attack and speed buff, Resonance Blades effect, +1 movement, and neutralizes any kind of penalty on unit and allies. So this is a very powerful harmonic skill because it provides the +1 movement, and this is going to be really helpful with a lot of the cavaliers from these games. And even if they're not cavaliers, +1 movement is a very strong thing that you can get. So this is going to be really helpful in Summoner Duels. It is like a win more button basically, especially on Pathfinder teams. And it's also really helpful in Resonant Battles where you can get the extra movement and catch up to the thieves. So this is a really good harmonic skill that they can run. And by essentially having Canto 4, she does appreciate the +1 movement because she can retreat all the way with her Canto 4. So it does work out pretty well for Ayra. And having more offenses is always going to be helpful in nuking something and deleting the frontliner of the enemies. So overall, Tea Time Ayra and Mercedes are excellent units and amazing melee nukes that can function in Summoner Duels. Definitely a really good unit for Summoner Duels, and I think that's her main game mode. In Aether Raids often she can function as a hit and run unit, but Canto Control is, common with Medius and stuff, so you have to watch out for that. Aether Raids defense is also another way of using Ayra where she can hit really hard, but a lot of times people are going to be bringing damage reduction, so she might be missing some kills, but still she is a really good melee nuke that you can put on your Aether Raids defense. And as a harmonic unit as it is, she's going to be amazing in Resonant Battles because you're not going to be having Canto Control or anything like that there, so she's going to be making the Resonant Battles a piece of cake because of how good she is at deleting units and also with the Canto that she has got. As for the build, she does come with a base kit that is already pretty good, and Red Feud is helpful in facing other God Swords which have crazy high speed, so just debuffing them and also, excluding them from having any kind of support externally is really good. So I do like Red Feud quite a lot. I think Colorless Feud is also another really good feud skill that you can run, which allows you to ignore Fallen Maria. That is going to be really helpful in Summoner Duels especially. So Colorless Feud is also something that you can run. But if you're trying to run something that is available easily, then you can run Speed Defense Menace from the Divine Codes. And this is going to be a pretty good skill because it's not debuffing the attack of the enemy, because she does depend on enemy's attack to get the extra stats in the combat. So Speed Defense Menace works out perfectly for Ayra if you're looking for a slotsy skill to change. And I don't really think that she needs any kind of change to her special or her slotty skill or slot B skill. All of them are really optimal. And finally, if you want to give her something premium, then Defense Rest Smoke 3 is really good because it allows her to have the Pathfinder status, and because she's going to be hitting something really hard and then retreating with the Canto, having the Pathfinder is really helpful so that she can allow for more offensive plays, so that is also a really good slotsy skill. Tea Time Lysithea is a colorless mage flyer with baked treats as her preferred weapon. This enables Canto 1, which is really good because she's going to be running Desperation in her slot B, and she does have the teleporting skill in Oath 4 skill. So Oath 4 skills don't really work the best with the Trace skills because the Trace skill is not going to be giving Canto when you teleport. So having the fixed Canto in this weapon is really good. And then she gets minus on special cooldown, which allows Glimmer to be a 1 cooldown special, and at start of turn she can inflict -6 speed and resistance debuff and the sabotage status on the nearest foes within 5 spaces of the unit and foes that are within 2 spaces of those foes. So she has some really good debuffs and the splash range with this kind of skill in her weapon. and the Sabotage debuff is going to be enabling you to get even more out of the debuffs on the enemies. And having these debuffs built in the weapon is actually really good for the self-sufficiency because she does need that for her Mastermind slotted skill. And then finally for the weapon, if unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, then she can get +6 attack and speed in the combat and also gets the half null follow-up, which allows her to easily double with Desperation 4. So having the offensive half of null follow-up is extremely good. And then finally she can neutralize foes bonuses to their speed and resistance, which allows her to nuke them even harder because you can not really buff up the resistance to face against Lysithea, and she's just going to be ignoring any of that. She does have a pretty good weapon, and this is definitely pretty good, but the real power of Tea Time Lysithea comes from her slotted skill, Mastermind. So this provides her with 1 damage at start of every turn, which is really good for falling into the range of Desperation 4, and it also allows you to have Wings of Mercy shenanigans in Aether Raids offense, like you can do with Brave Lysithea and Winter Bernadetta and Spring Bernadetta, so you can allow for the usage of Ardent Sacrifice and Reciprocal Aid, but mainly she's going to be used as a nuke, and this 1 damage does work out for her base kit. And then if she initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, then she can get +9 attack and speed in combat, and then she can get a lot of true damage depending on 80% of the highest total bonuses among herself and the allies in 2 spaces, and also 80% of the highest total penalties among target and the foes within 2 spaces of that target. So this is basically X plus Y, and it is like 80% of proxy treachery and proxy dominance in a way, because it also counts the highest total bonuses among herself and the allies, and even if the foe has got debuff neutralization, then you count the debuffs on the allies of them that are within 2 spaces of them. And this allows you to have consistent way of getting true damage, and she can essentially get 19 true damage per hit from her base kit alone. And if she's fully buffed with +6 to all of her stats, and if the foe is fully debuffed with -6 to all of their stats, then she can get 38 true damage per hit, which is quite a lot considering the fact that she's going to be fast enough to W, and also if she's run with Bridal Cordelia or Winter Cordelia, then she can quad attack and do so much damage. So she gets a lot of true damage and nukes extremely hard with her Mastermind skill, just using the visible buffs and the debuffs on the enemy to her advantage. And this is what makes Tea Time Lysithea as a pretty deadly nuke. One thing that she's going to be missing is obviously the damage reduction piercing, because we do have units like Legendary Selef with 80% damage reduction against magical hits. So against a lot of the damage reduction, she is going to be struggling, but still she can nuke really hard with the true damage that she can get. She also brings Desperation as a new tier 4 slot B skill, so this can inflict -4 speed debuff on the foe in the combat, and at start of combat, if the unit's HP is at or below 99% and unit initiates combat, or if the number of spaces moved by a unit from the start position to the end position is more than equal to 2, then you can get the Desperation effect basically. So it allows you to get the Desperation effect really easily by just not being at full HP or by just traveling 2 or more spaces, which is really good. And it's truly an upgrade from Desperation 3, and it is going to be a pretty good skill for many of the infantry mages or many of the mage flyers especially, who don't really have too many options. And this is going to be the best lobby skill for Lysithea because she already does the 1 self damage to herself, so she's going to be in the Desperation range no matter what she does. So that is really good for the consistency. And then she's got Attack Speed Oath 4, which does provide her the visible buffs and the order status to teleport. This is going to be having good synergy with the Mastermind slotted skill that she comes with, because it does want Lysithea to have the visible buffs. And overall, Lysithea is going to be functioning as a really strong nuke with the true damage that she can get from her Mastermind, and the fact that she has got amazing offenses with base 46 attack and base 46 speed. And even though she cannot pierce through the damage reduction, she is still going to be so fast that speed-based damage reduction is not going to be mattering to her, because she can be just, faster than a lot of the damage reduction tanks. So the flat damage reduction or the unconditional damage reduction is the main way of stopping her from, just killing you basically, because she gets so much true damage. And she's definitely going to be functioning really well in any kind of content, and especially she is, amazing for Aether Raids defense with a Bridal Catria team. And now that Freyr is there to save your team from Elemine, she can even be run in the Anima season and function as a very strong nuke. For building up Lysithea, I don't think there's much to be changed, and she can just run Glimmer as her special, and because we are going to be debuffing opponents' resistance, it works out better than Moonbow, and Desperation 4 is going to be working out well, and you can just run Attack Speed Catch as the Sacred Seal or even Blade Session. Any of that is going to be fine. And if you're going to be changing her Slotsy skill, and if you already have some visible buffs going on for your team, then you can try and run Panic Smoke 4 to fully debuff the opponent and have foe penalty doubler effect. So this can allow her to have even more stats, which can be pretty fun. So Panic Smoke 4 could be an option, and you can also run Colorless Feud again to ignore any kind of Fallen Marias that are deployed against your team, especially against your Aether Raids defense team if she's going to be used there. Tea Time Sigurd is a Blue Mage Cavalier with Knightly Manner as his preferred weapon, and this gives him minus on special cooldown, and at start of combat, if his HP is at or above 25%, then he can get plus 5 to all of these stats, and also gets a guaranteed follow-up attack, which is helpful because he's not the fastest unit. He can also deal true damage based on 15% of his attack stat, excluding the AoE specials, which again doesn't really matter because he's not going to be switching from his Chivalric Aura special, and he's always going to be running that. And finally, he gets the Fire Sweep effect against any kind of opponent that is not a dagger or bow unit, which is quite a lot. So he's going to be not getting counterattacked by pretty much most of the weapon types, which is going to be making him a pretty strong unit to be used in Aether Raids defense, because not getting counterattacked means that he's going to be living for longer and being a lot more annoying. He also has Remote Sturdy in his slot A in case he faces any kind of bow or dagger unit that can actually counterattack to him, or he faces any kind of null counter disrupt opponent. So this can give him plus 7 attack and plus 10 defense, and also 30% damage reduction from foe's first attack. And this can be helpful when he can be pretty bulky with his defense at base 35 and a super boon, and also getting the extra 5 defense from his weapon. And his resistance is not the highest, so a lot of mages and dragons are going to be doing a number on him regardless of the 30% damage reduction. He also has very high attack stat at base 46 with a super boon. And the reason why, Tea Time Sigurd is going to be seen quite a lot in Aether Raids defense is because of his Chivalric Aura. So this is going to be giving you some flashbacks of Legendary Sigurd. So Chivalric Aura is the better Holy Knight Aura with Time Pulse 3 effect built in, and this can boost up damage by 25% of his attack stat. And after the combat, if he has triggered his special, then it can give plus 6 attack and plus 1 movement to himself and all of the allies. And it doesn't matter if he dies either, because he's still going to be giving them the plus 1 movement and the plus 6 attack. Now, we have seen a lot of stalled status ever since Legendary Sigurd, so obviously it's not that we lack counters, but it's just that with the Fire Sweep effect and the Chivalric Aura having Time Pulse built in, he's easily going to be able to trigger his specials and run away because he's got the Fire Sweep effect and he's not going to be counterattacked. Unless you run some kind of null counter disrupt unit. In that case, he's going to be dying, but he's still going to be giving the plus 1 movement to the enemies. The only case where he's going to be getting completely countered if he's facing some kind of dragon unit who has got the Scowl effect and also the Guard effect. So they can decharge his pre-charged special, and with the Guard effect, they can prevent him from triggering his special, which is going to be helpful if you have a Bridal Tiki, but he's still not going to be able to get counterattacked, which is going to be still annoying as he's going to be, just staying alive. So overall, I think that Tea Time Sigurd is going to be a fantastic Aether Raids defense unit who can be useful on cav lines as well as for Dancer Trap teams, boosting the movement of your teams. Nowadays, we do have, some really nice null counter disrupt units, and we also got the tier 4 version of it. So keep that in mind because you're still going to be facing those kinds of opponents. But because of his bulk and because of having Chivalric Aura being pre-charged, a lot of times, even if he dies, he can still give the plus 1 movement to your team, which can hopefully help you defeat the opponent. And because of that, just like Legendary Sigurd, he's going to be a really strong unit in Aether Raids defense. He can also be useful in other game modes and also in Summoner Duels S, but I think that his main game mode is going to be Aether Raids defense, where he can really just shine with his Chivalric Aura and the Fire Sweep effect and be really, really annoying. If you want to build up Sigurd, then you can provide him with Reposition and Attack Resistance Menace from the Limited Ephemera manual that we got on Fallen Male Morgan, and this way he can have some kind of visible debuff on opponent's resistance, as they're not going to be able to counterattack, and even if they can counterattack, he does have the attack debuff and the Remote Sturdy with its damage reduction. Now, if you're trying to use Sigurd to his max potential, then I really feel like Defense Res Smoke 3 is the Slotsy skill that you can run for Aether Raids defense and for Summoner Duels S, because this can allow you to trigger your special and then also provide Pathfinder for your team. So this is really helpful because they're going to be getting the +1 movement, and Sigurd being the Pathfinder unit can be incredibly powerful when he's still going to be alive because of the fire sweep effect that he has got in his weapon. So this is definitely one of the best skills that you can give to Tea Time Sigurd. And Legendary Sigurd also uses this skill really well because of the same reason. But it's just that Tea Time Sigurd is going to be able to live through a lot more things because of the fire sweep effect that he has got in his weapon that works against everyone except for bow and dagger units. Finally, if you want some retreat option, then a Fortress skill is going to be pretty good that you can run in a slot bay. Unfortunately, Mage Cavaliers do not have access to alarm skills, so you cannot get Canto 1 that easily. And Fortress skill can definitely work, and you can also run the Defense Rest Smoke 3 on him at higher investment, which is definitely going to be helping you quite a lot. Tea Time Ferdinand is the 4-star focus unit of this banner, and he's a green mage flyer this time around with Tea Time Set Plus as the inhittable weapon. So this is, in my opinion, the best green tome that we have got in a long time until we get some kind of arcane green tome. The reason being is that it provides flat Canto 1, which is extremely helpful, and then if unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, then it can provide you with +5 attack and speed, and if you've got more speed than the opponent, then you get half null follow-up, the offensive half of null follow-up, which allows you to bypass any kind of follow-up negation effects. So this is really good for having the half null follow-up in the weapon and also having flat Canto at the same time. So Tea Time Ferdinand is going to be making fantastic use of this with his 42 base attack and 45 base speed, and because he's a 4-star focus unit, a lot of people are going to be trying to +10 merge him, and he also comes with Rally Speed Resistance Plus, which could be a good skill if you just want to give this skill to some kind of arena unit. And Wind Sweep is a pretty good option with the half null follow-up that comes with Tea Time Set, because it allows you to double without getting counter-attacked, so it makes the perfect use out of the half null follow-up in his weapon, and Speed Resistance Rain is also a pretty good option for being offensive. So Ferdinand has got amazing stat spread for a 4-star focus unit that he can try and +10 merge, and whenever we get a green arcane tome, I think he's going to be benefiting a lot from that weapon. But even until then, Tea Time Set Plus is truly amazing weapon that can make use of his strengths. So if you're going to be building him up on a budget, then you can simply give him attack speed catch 4 from the divine codes. We have so many attack speed catch 4 there that you can easily try and give him this, and Glimmer is going to be the special of choice, as it is with many of the mages and magical units in general. So you can try and run that and also run Blade Session Sacred Seal or attack speed catch 3, which we have recently got in the Tempest trial. And going with the plus speed IV is going to be the play to do, because speed is going to be helpful in triggering the half null follow-up in his weapon and also for wind sweeping the opponents. Even though he does have an attack super boon, I think that's best suited for ascending. If you're going to be giving him even more fodder, then I think that giving him Lysithea from this banner itself is going to be a pretty strong investment, because he can make use of the Desperation 4 with the half null follow-up and do pretty much what Lysithea does, but on a lower scale without any kind of crazy true damage. So that is something that he can do as a mage flyer. And attack speed unity is going to be a pretty nice option, which does have good synergy with the attack speed oath 4 and also the proximity condition of Tea Time Set Plus. So he can easily run this and not be bothered by any kind of debuffs to his attack and speed. You can of course run attack speed catch 4 if you don't have access to attack speed unity, but I think that Desperation 4 and attack speed oath 4 are pretty amazing investment that you can make from this banner itself. And you can also run him with Remote Sparrow and Brash Assault 4, as you can give him a lot of damage reduction and also damage reflection with Brash Assault 4, which can definitely help him kill a lot more things with his double attack. So Remote Sparrow is going to be helpful in getting some damage reduction and making sure that he has got better longevity. And Oath 4 skill is really fun with the teleportation and the Canto 1 that he can get out of his weapon. And speaking of teleportation, I think that Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance are going to be amazing slotsy skill for him if you do run him in more of the competitive game modes. And even if he's not going to be scoring the highest in something like Arena, I think still having a flyer can really help you, boost up your mobility with Guidance 4. And we did get G-Dual Flying 4 in the Limited Ephemera manual, so it's not like you have to pull for it. So you can easily run this build if you're a huge Ferdinand fan and if you want to use him in Arena. Time Tailtiu is a green mage infantry unit with T-Cake Tower Plus as the inedible weapon. So we've got another green mage here, but this time she's an infantry mage, and she does have amazing offenses with base 42 attack and base 44 speed. Comparing that to the other green mages that we have in the free-to-play pool, you can clearly see that she has got the best offensive stat spread, even better than Rickon, who was not really all that old of a unit, and she does have 4 more speed than Rickon, which is definitely really good. And we also have Luthier as a bit of an older unit, and Tailtiu is definitely going to be enjoying the green Arcane Tome whenever that comes out, or you can give her the green tome that Ferdinand comes with, because that is definitely going to be better than Tea Tower Plus, because Tea Tower is basically the same weapon that we have seen on Groom Robin. So it provides you with +4 to all of your stats and also has in-combat panic on the opponent. Now this can definitely be helpful in a couple of game modes where visible buffs are going to be pretty common, but overall I do feel like Ferdinand's weapon is a lot better because of its half null follow-up and the Canto 1 that you've got, and getting Canto 1 as an infantry unit is definitely really helpful. Now her fodder is also very helpful in case you want to fodder her for Stillwater 4 and other premium skills, so she provides that fodder, which we didn't really have before. And overall Tailtiu is going to be a good Grail unit, even though she doesn't really come with a preferred weapon, but she does have the offenses, and again, a green Arcane Tome or Ferdinand's weapon can definitely help her. If you want to build her up on a budget, then Speed Resistance form and Attack Speed form can be a budget way of building her up, and just giving her a link skill so that she can have higher speed. So this could be helpful in the limited battles or in Tempest Trial where she's a bonus unit. But if you're trying to build her up even more, then giving her some of the premium skills from the Divine Codes like Attack Speed Ideal 4 and Attack Speed Oath 4 can definitely be helpful, and she can just run Null Follow Up from Lumera, as that is a very helpful slot B skill nowadays with a lot of auto follow ups and follow up negation going around. And especially if you're not going to be giving her Ferdinand's weapon, then I think that having null follow-up in her slot B is even better. So this could be run, but I think that Ferdinand's weapon is definitely going to be the best option for her until we get some kind of Arcane Green Tome. And even when we get an Arcane Green Tome, and if you're not able to give her that, then this is going to be like the next best option. So she can be given the Tea Time Set Plus from Tea Time Ferdinand, and this is going to be providing you with the half null follow-up, which allows you to not run null follow-up. Even though you don't have the defensive half of null follow-up, it's still pretty good. And the Canto 1 can be really good with the teleporting that you can do with Oath 4 skill. So you can just run Attack Speed Finish 4 and also run Special Spiral 4, which can allow you to completely pierce through the damage reduction. And I really like Attack Speed Oath 4 on Tailtiu until we get some kind of Arcane Green Tome, because this just allows you to get more offenses and also allows you to teleport, which is really good. And if you're still trying to have Tea Tower Plus, and if you want to run Magical Null Follow-Up, then that is going to be an option, but I would definitely suggest you to probably wait for until we get an Arcane Green Tome, because I don't know, it can have like full Null Follow-Up built in, just like Arcane Devourer. In that case, this could be a redundant investment. So if you have extra Aether, then I guess you can make use of Remote Sparrow and Magical Null Follow-Up, but again, probably waiting is the best option. Make sure to share this video with your friends if they're trying to build up any of these units, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Celine not being invited to this Tea Time festival. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.